to start out with the starter. 4 Stealth Rogue of Revelation Yasuie. Yasuie Tenma. Shiroyuki. Stealth Fiend One-Eyed Nuno. Actable Stealth Rogue Yes. 1 Swift Archer Fushimi. Stealth Rogue of No Mask Awazu. Obvious is obvious, grade 3 searcher. Wisteria Flowers, Stealth Rogue Takehime. EP. And then we're running the I'm gonna go get me a Shiroyuki back to my hand card. We're doing, as of right now, because we're a little bit more comfortable with the deck, we're Alright, now into the deck profile. Of course, we're gonna start out with the starter. Stealth Dragon, I don't know the name, because I couldn't find the one that looks like Naruto riding, or Jiraiya riding on the turtle. Alright, so next we're gonna go grade 3s, and we're gonna start our way down from there. And first, and most importantly, 4 Stealth Rogue of Revelation Yasuie. The thing I love the most about this card is the fact that he is just a Counterblast, Soul Blast. You choose 2 units on the board. You search for their names either in the drop zone or in the deck. If you get them from the deck, obviously shuffle. That's really, really good because you get to potentially plus more than what you did. And there's a fancy little woo that Cardfight King and Wave Nation helped me understand at like 9 a.m. because I was just waking up on a Saturday morning, that you could do with this ability, or even with the other grade 3's ability, well, with one of the grade 3's abilities, that I don't think a lot of people understand or know of, or just can't piece it together, so I'm going to do that for you today. His next ability is, at the end of the battle that it attacked, discard from your hand 2 cards. Then, from your drop zone, you ride your other grade 3 option, Yasuie Tenma, which is another grade 3, another Excel marker, so you get to draw another card during your turn. And then you ride it as stand, it loses 1 drive check. Really, really good. If you're facing another Protector Excel matchup, that's great. If not, then who cares? You swing unboosted. Swing for 12 if you get a front trigger, which most likely you will, or a crit trigger, depending on what you're playing. Then you'll just get it. If not, then oh well, you get another ride. You really would want that front trigger. But anyway, now on to Yasuie Tenma. Yasuie Tenma's skill is an act. Unfortunately, it's not an auto. If it was, it'd be too busted. It's just act, Counterblast 1, pick 1 unit that's on the board, unit. Mind you, these 2 say unit. I didn't go over this with Yasuie, so I'll do it now. These say unit. Doesn't mean just a rear guard. You could pick the Vanguard. So if you are stuck on Yasuie Tenma, guess what? Go search out your Yasuie Tenma. If you happen to have both of these in your hand for your grade 3 turn, use his skill, copy this, and copy the next card that I'm actually going to talk about. And then you can get a Yasuie on the board, and then that'll, proc his skill a lot easier, because Yasuie's other skill is when he's on the rear guard. Oh, I'm sorry, let me finish. When you target the unit, you go ahead and you just call it from drop, or you call it from rear guard. But his other skill is when he's on rear guard and he attacks, he gets 10k power. When he gets that, at the end of that battle that he gets that 10k power, he goes to the drop zone, which helps out with Yasuie, because Yasuie needs to get Tenma from the drop zone. So you go ahead and you get that from the drop zone. You get the card from the drop zone, you call it to the board, great. Any skills, go off, whatever. And then after that happens, after you call the unit, after you call the unit, you pick one of your opponent's rear guards, bottom deck it. It helps out so much because a lot of your opponents, like rear guards, they need them on board, or they can use them in drop. You're never going to be able to use that against Night Rose, because Night Rose is just she kills all her rear guards, unless you're going first and they just happen to have Navigator on board. Then you go ahead, you bottom deck it for them the next turn to bring it back out with Columbard. So Anyway, on to our next grade 3. These two, fabulous. Our next grade 3, Shiroyuki. Shiroyuki is amazing still, even at 1. You can cheese this out with a grade 2 that I'm going to show you guys later. Because if you love E-Heroes, hopefully you loved E-Hero Prisma. Anyway, this card is, Guardian Circle or Vanguard Circle. When it's placed, Soul Blast 2, -10 to your Vanguard, or your opponent's Vanguard. I'm sorry, the front row. And then other skill, or other part of the skill, if it's on rear guard, it's Soul Blast 2, -5k. Pretty good card. Doesn't really need too much more explaining than that. This deck does have a high grade 3 count, and we're not done yet. Okay. Stealth Fiend, One-Eyed Nuno. This card, I chose to do it last just because there's a little bit of explaining, and I wanted this to be the last thing that you saw, and I wanted it to stick in your head. He is on rear guard. If you have another unit, either your Vanguard or your rear guard, with the same name as him, he gains boost, and then, excuse me, he gains boost and auto rear guard at the end of the turn. If you have 5 or more units, goes into soul, draws you a card. So if you have 2 of him out at the end of the turn because you're gonna have a Vanguard, you just need 2 other cards on the board. They proc, they go into soul, because they both proc at the same time, and they don't do checks after that. They just do that initial check of, do I have 5 units? Yes. Achieved. Goes in the soul. Draws you 2 cards. So it's really, really good because he fuels her. They go great together. There are some other options that people are using that I've seen from Can You Say G, like, I can't even think of his name. Musashi. You can use Musashi now. That build is a little bit more vicious. A lot of people are using Hyuga in their engine, where they don't even run these cards. It's literally just these guys, 3 Hyugas, and some other cards that we don't have. So anyway, that's the grade 3s. On to the grade 2s. Now, mind you, this is my first build of the deck. That's what people usually say when bad choices are coming up. Anyway, my first grade 2 that I'm finding that I kind of like, but I can replace it with other stuff now that I'm thinking about it. We're using Impactable Stealth Rogue. Yes. He has 1 simple skill. If there's another card with the same name as him, he gets +5 and he can resist, essentially. And for those of you who have not been playing Vanguard that long, resist is basically he can't be targeted by your opponent's effects. So things like Vanquisher, haha, screw you. Things like Kagero. The only thing that really hurt him is Blade Master. He can be attacked with Vermilion skill, or just anything that doesn't target, anything that does mass wiping. He's affected by. You can't just target him. Next, we're running 1 Swift Archer Fushimi. If anybody has an OR, please let me know. But Swift Archer Mushimi, I was thinking Brave Fencer Musashi. Vanguard Rearguard. If you have 4 or more rearguards during your turn, this unit gets +5k. Pretty good. Auto. When he's placed, choose one of your units, and that unit can attack the back row. So if you're doing damage denial, that's your mains. What you want to do, because there are some decks that do commit a little bit early, or if they went first, and you're coming up second, and you can't hit their Vanguard because you're playing against a force deck, swing at the rear guard, or swing at the booster, or swing at something else that's in the back row that they thought would be safe. You'll damage deny. This is effective against Luard. This is effective against Night Rose. It's effective against a bunch of decks. But a lot of people aren't thinking about that just because they think that's a premium strategy. Oh man, I said premium. Anyway, last card that I found that I love, but I do want to cut it down a little bit because I'm thinking of another grade 2 lineup that I want to try, and this is just what I've been testing the past couple weeks. That's been performing pretty well. Stealth Rogue of No Mask, Awazu. He is essentially Elemental Hero Prisma. For those of you who used to play Yu-Gi-Oh!, He is on place, grab a card from your deck, dump it to the drop zone, and then his name becomes that card's name. Really, really good for a lot of reasons, big brain reasons, which I'm going to show you later if you stuck with us so far for the deck profile. But yeah, it's very simple ability, but sometimes the most simple is the answer, and he's really great. So anyway, low grade 2 count, but it's all right. If we have to G assist for it, it's okay. We just hard mulligan for a grade 2. Next, on to the grade 1s. Obvious is obvious. Grade 3 searcher. As long as you have if you only have him and you have another 2 units with the same name, he gets plus 5k. Easiest condition to fulfill, especially with the elemental hero Prisma and Yasuie, both Yasuies actually, because you could just target himself and he becomes a 13k booster. But then he has the generic on place search top 5 for a grade 3. So, and we run plenty of those. Next, Wisteria Flowers, Stealth Rogue, Takehime. Legitimately, if this guy's not the best card, she definitely is. You don't want to use her first skill so much. She's just on place on Vanguard only. You search top 7, but then search top 7 and then you just get the card. That's a new style of, I guess, grade 3 searchers that they're doing. But her other skill is when she's on rearguard circle and she sees Yasuie being placed. That doesn't matter if she's being placed over another grade 3, just as long as it's being placed. Counterblast 1, target one of your units, again, units, and then go search your drop zone. Yeah, you search your sorry, I'm just reading this. Yeah, you search for your drop zone. That's it. I thought it was search deck, so sorry for the couple people that I played against with this deck. But yeah, you search your drop zone, you go get a copy of it, you superior call it. This is great because if you've soul blasted this out, if you have this in the drop zone, but you used his skill on it, which I'll show you guys how to do later. If you soul blasted out this, if this is in your drop zone before your Vanguard attacks, or if you just happen to have other copies of it in the drop zone, she can go get them. Really, really good card. Like I said, MVP. And then we're running the I'm going to go get me a Shiroyuki back to my hand card. An attack just has to miss. Not much more needs to be said. She's been out for a while. But yeah, I've been finding this build very, very consistent, very, very good. And next up to the trigger lineup, we're doing, as of right now, because we're a little bit more comfortable with the deck, we're doing 4-8-8. Yeah, 8-4-4, sorry. 8 fronts, 4 draws, 4 heals. You can go ahead and try, taking out two fronts, putting them in for draws, because this is a piece reliant deck. And unless you're comfortable with doing this and you want to get your pieces, go for it. It is completely viable. Going 6-6, 6-6-4, it's completely good. But obviously heals are heals and you want to use best girl heal. So anyway, if you stuck with us this long, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time in my Night Rose deck profile. Alright, so YouTube, I'm going to show you guys what I like to call the boomerang play. Basically, this is just, we're going to loop a certain card, which I heavily hinted at during the video. There's not too much setup for this. You only need a couple of things that have happened. This is going to have to be turn 4 or more, because as you can see, well, we've already did the Yasuie Tenma Superior Ride. We need Wisteria, we need her. So, because we've already did the Yasuie Tenma Superior Ride, it's our turn. We stand, we draw, we ride, and now we have 2 Excel markers, right? So we drew from the Excel marker. What we're gonna need at this point, we're gonna call Yasuie Tenma to 1 Excel marker. It's important that he's there. Next, we're going to call Awazu. Activate Awazu skill. We're going to go search for Shiroyuki and put her to the drop zone. So, we now have Shiroyuki in the drop zone where she needs to be for right now. Now at this point, if you have a Nuno, you can call him, because this is what we're going to want. We're going to need to refill our hand eventually. And this play is going to seem a little bit odd, a little bit weird, but we're going to do it anyway. So we're going to use Yasuie skill, Counterblast 1. And we are going to Soul Blast 1. And the 2 units that we're going to target, Shiroyuki. And then you can either go another Yasuie Tenma, or you can go a Nuno. If you need more card advantage, go Nuno. If you just want to go more aggressive and then minusing your opponent's board, go Tenma. So if you have more than 1 Tenma in drop zone, which I do, you call the other one to the Excel marker, and then you call her. So now her skill procs, Soul Blast 2, minusing your opponent's board or front row by 5k. At this point, this is the crucial part. Please don't forget this. I've recorded this like 6 times because I've forgotten this. You call over her with any card. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be this card. It could be a trigger. It could be whatever. You have to call over her in order for this to work. So next, you're going to swing, and I guess we should just do a skill. So let's just do a skill because, you know, we got to be good players. And we got no grade 3, so we whiffed. But that's okay, because this column is a 25k column. This column is just a lowly 17, and if your opponent's at like 3 to 5 damage, one of these attacks is not going to hit. So what you're going to want to do to not waste anything is you don't care about this column. You don't. So you swing with this one first. If they let it hit, they let it hit. Now the rest of these attacks, they're going to have to block something. They have to. Now, first things first, you're going to want to swing with a Tenma. Despite being able to swing with a Vanguard, you want to swing with a Tenma because it's a 27k attack. You swing with that. You use their, and then you use his skill. He retires. You bottom deck one of your opponent's card. Mind you, you have 1 Excel circle open right now. Now you swing with Vanguard. You swing 12. You get a draw trigger. You can put the draw trigger here. It doesn't matter where it goes. Get your draw. So now you discard 2. So this is what I would discard. Because if you're going up against another Excel match, perfect cards aren't really that great. Because you're now you're now going to reride that Tenma that you put into the drop zone. You're going to get another Excel marker. So now you have 2 Excel markers. So you draw a card from your Excel marker. And now you activate her skill. And then her skill activates, you counterblast 1. Pick a unit on the board. And then you get to call it from the drop zone to your deck. At this point, before you do that, check your drop zone to see what you have. A lot of people can go for Nuno. I would go for another Tenma depending on the game state, but for this video purposes, we're going to do that. This play could be further expanded if you had another one of these. So if you weren't an idiot like me and you got another one of her instead of, you know, cloning something else, then you would counterblast another one and then you'd fill that last Excel marker. Because that's why it's very important you swing with one of the ones on the Excel circle first. So it's a high-powered attack, and it wastes guard out of your opponent's hand. Next, you got 1 less drive check, so you're swinging for 20. You're swinging for 20, single drive. Oh no, it didn't hit. Put that in the soul. Get your Shiroyuki back. And mind you, your opponent's Vanguard is either at 8 or 7k at this point. So if they hit any triggers, it doesn't matter. Because you have this 25k column, I'm sorry, 35k column because we put the heal trigger on this, or the draw trigger on this. Then you have another 27k attack and another 27k attack that's going to bottom deck one of your opponent's rear guards, if they have any at this point in time. So then when it comes back to your turn, or their turn to attack, you drop Shiroyuki, you have plenty of soul because you have a Nuno. At the end of the turn, you would have drawn another heal trigger, so that's what, a lot of shield that you could have potentially, and then a lot of hand that you're going to save yourself. There are many variants of ways to do this play. Definitely a lot cleaner than what I gave an example of, but the point is still the same. You're going to essentially make your opponent have to guard more. You can do this play, I want to say once or twice probably a game, but it is really good. You want to save this play for when your opponent's at about 4 to 5 damage, and yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, any tips, because I am a brand new, essentially, Murakumo player for the V era. I tried loving Yasuie back in the day when he had Shadow Stitch, but it definitely wasn't working. But anyway, you guys have been great. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you soon.